guys, how's it going? Today we've got several garden projects to work on. They're unrelated projects and just things I need to take care of. Like for example, we're starting here in front of the chicken coop. I noticed last night that I've got a big bunch of rose canes that have fallen forward, and I don't know if they're coming from like ones that I've tried to train back or if they're new ones that I just need to prune off. See that? We're dealing with a little bit of a wild mess here. I also wanted to show you how the annuals are doing in this area because they're gorgeous, and it's morning right now, so we're in the shade at the moment. So let me just stand back, and minus the rose, we'll take a look once we're done. But look at the lemon coral sedum border, and we've got vibrant violet dahlias. This plant loves this spot. I had these last year. They did not get this big. I think they just, I don't know, found the sweet spot for them, and they are beautiful. Look at these flowers. They're just a gorgeous color. They're full of buds, just buds everywhere. Lemon coral's kind of peeking through, which is perfect. Just that little clean, bright edge just kind of caps it. And we do have other things in here. That's the one problem with these plants. They're kind of like, there's an Invincible Ruby hydrangea in here. It looks healthy still. And there's one here, and there's one right over there. I also popped some Gara in here, which is the only thing you can see from those. I may as well not have planted those. Are a few like stringy stems. There's some rockin' deep purple salvia. There's two I planted. There's a purple fountain grass. Hey girls, I just gave them a big bunch of watermelon, which it looks like they've scratched a bunch of dirt on top of. We've got a Miss Violet buddleia. There's a weeping blue spruce here. And then of course our rose. There's another rockin' deep purple salvia right in there. Back in black sedum trying to peek through. I love that though. I love how things incorporate. And it's perfect with something like this because, you know, the sedum, we cut it back every year. So it's not like it's a boxwood where this is, you know, like last year, our boxwoods around the parterre or the Hartley, where we had Play in the Blue salvia kind of lean over the top of the boxwoods, and it damaged the backside of, and kind of killed, smothered out a couple of them. So anyway, it's nice that the sedum, you cut it back and it comes back fresh every year as opposed to like a boxwood. I've been very mindful of that this year, not to let that happen again. Aaron's running around watering. How nice. I'm nothing, just saying mean things about you is all. Okay, moving on, we've got the, is this Going Bananas daylily, I think, and I always threaten to take these out. And then they come up and bloom real pretty, and I lose my nerve. Anyway, we've still got a few little blooms on them. And then our window box, which we had to pull super bells out of and pop lemon coral in, is looking awesome. These are more of the vivid violet, so you can see we're in a little bit of a lull, but we've got buds coming on. There's a Kufia here in the middle. And then our container on the side, we had to pop the Hollywood hibiscus out because it was just languishing in there. And we popped the panicum in, and I love that. I wish I would have done that from the beginning. But look at this blend. First of all, the lemon coral on the ground just kind of draws the same interest, that same color over here. We've got little lime hydrangeas looking good there. More vivid violet, Kufia. Totally Tempted. Gosh, maybe we can put the name on the screen. It's evading me at the moment. And then Royal Velvet Supertunia. Isn't that beautiful? I just love it. But this is not so beautiful. So I'm gonna get in there with my pruners and just go to town. We'll see what we end up doing here. Now, if I get in close, if I can, I gotta pick my way through. You can see how we attach the rose canes. We get these little cable clips that have a little tiny nail and the white clip, the white plastic clip there. So you just hammer those in, and then I use a little piece of this rubber coated wire to attach the stems. And I've got several of them, so some things popped off, like this one right here. Yeah, I can even see some wire. That one's popped off, that needs to go forward. Gosh, I don't know if I'm gonna be able to get a ladder in here to reach that. We'll see. Well, let's get after it before the sun comes over the front. It's supposed to be like 89 is our high today, but we do have 2 days coming that are 102 and 100 degrees. So anyway, shouldn't be too bad. I'm going to figure out which rose canes I want to save before I start pruning. So I'm going to try to weave this in and around everything in here without damaging too much. I think that worked. Okay. Just ran to the barn, grabbed more of these staples. They're coaxial staples, 1/4 inch. That's what they look like right there. The ones that are in the side keep pulling out. I think that just the boards around where the nails are have softened a little bit, so I need to put some new ones in. So I've got my hammer, and hopefully this will do the trick. All right, that is better than it was. I'm not going to try to take out a bunch of like the thick growth right here because it is gonna get really hot. I just really wanted to train what I could train and cut away all of those that were kind of flopped over, and it's looking so much better. Got the canes reaffixed to the front of the shed. I mean, eventually I'd love to have the canes coming, you know, over the top of the window and maybe even underneath. Look at this on the ground in front of it. Oh my goodness. I am going to fertilize. I've got some rose tone. Let's take a look from the other angle here. Look at that. So much better. And now I'm going to take after the other 4. So I've got this one right here. All I'm going to do is just kind of come in and shave off all of these right here. And let's take a look at this one. These are in full sun at the moment, but it'll help. This looks like such a wreck back here. Oh my gosh, it's so thick and just, ugh. So we'll kind of take care of that a little bit. And I don't know if we're gonna really be able to access the other one. It doesn't really, a little bit. Doesn't really matter all that much. Yeah, this one right back in here. You know, I might come and cut a couple stems, but we've got hibiscus and stuff in here. It's pretty thick. Provides some nice shade for the chickens. And as far as the rose tone goes, we always give them a dose of fertilizer in the spring when I do my big prune job. I usually try to fertilize at that time. And I think the bag says you can do it every month, but they get it in the spring and then again, maybe this time of year, maybe one additional time above that. Yeah, establish plants, when to feed, apply monthly from beginning of growing season to the middle of September. I just figure if I give them a good dose right before their first big bloom flush and then another dose about this time so that they'll bloom really nicely here in just a few weeks, it's about perfect. The nice thing about these roses is that they are grown on their own root, which I just talked about when we planted all those rugosas, because I could have bought Zephyrin roses that were grafted as opposed to own root. And the nice part about own root is when they send up these suckers from underneath kind of like the crown of the plant, if it's a grafted rose, they don't come up true to the variety that you planted. They come up as the rootstock plant. But these, no matter if they're suckers or growing from, you know, the main part of the plant, they come up and bloom the pink Zephyrin blooms that I want them to bloom. That way, if I for some reason lost the entire top of this plant, I could essentially grow it fresh from the rootstock and it'll be a Zephyrin still. What is crabapple and what is rose? Kind of thinking about taking this rose out on this corner, maybe. Not today. Well, I wasn't anticipating running through this entire flower bed, but I'm glad we did it. So starting again right back up front, looking at that cleaned up rose. Oh, you can see the sun is now starting to get into the front part of the bed. And then as we round the corner, like you can actually see air and light through this space. That looks so much better. Oh my goodness. Now I haven't touched this flower bed since we took the wisteria out. That's why this Winecraft Black Smoke Bush is growing so weird, because it was always so shrouded by other things. You know, I did have a weeping cherry right here at the corner that we eventually took out, and then I had the wisteria that was kind of shrouding it, so it's growing up in a little bit of a weird way. So I cut the little branches off that were just going up on stalks, like there was long blank stalks with a poof on the top. So just kind of rounded it out a little bit. Just did a mild cleanup on this rose, getting all of the chickens taking a bath in there, a dust bath. Anyway, taking all of the branches that had, come forward, and I washed everything down. You know, Paul came through the chicken coop maybe 2 weeks ago, 10 days ago, something like that, and he tilled the entire run so that the chickens would have fluffy dirt in there again, and they love it, but it did create like a complete dust bowl around here. I just didn't realize it. And then coming around the back side, way better than it was. Not ideal. I would like to move all of this lamb's ear, because I was looking at this and I was thinking, well, I could lift the crabapple branches up. It's a spectacular crabapple. Look at the crabs on here. I mean, they are so incredibly thick and they turn bright red. All of these crab apples were blooms, and it's just amazing. And you know, we did have that big patch of iris, the Siberian iris, that would come up through the center of the tree, and they were so tall compared to what this tree is. And those are the ones we moved out to the entryway. They're it's a huge drift now, and they're yellow and they're happy and they're beautiful, and they look a lot better where they're at. And that's what I'm gonna do with the lamb's ear. The lamb's ear is just a little bit too big for the canopy of the crabapple, because I wanna keep it kind of weepy and low like that. I need to come in with more of a ground cover right here, I think. And the lamb's ear, especially after deadheading it, cleaning it up a little bit, looks beautiful, and it will look beautiful somewhere else, but just not right here. And then moving more this direction, I took the Baptisia out, which just kind of opened this space up a little bit. There's a little bit more Baptisia I need to get though still. Anyway, I need to do a complete overhaul of this bed. I think I'd like to take the hibiscus out. They are happy. I think those are the Berry Awesome right there. I've got 3 of them in there. It's just too thick. And I think in order to have the roses happy in the back, I need to give them a little bit more air and a little bit more light. So if I come in and just take everything out except for the crabapple and the roses, we can start fresh. But it looks good to have the yellowish Baptisia out. It's not yellow in a good way. It was yellow in an iron deficient way. So anyway, all gone. Everything's been hosed down. And that's what our gator looks like. We need to go unload now. And you know what? The next thing that I wanted to get done today was cleaning the potatoes that we have drying in the barn. So that's what we're gonna go do next. All chores that need to be done. When I was unloading the gator, I unearthed the rose tone and realized I forgot to fertilize. So we're gonna do that quick before we move on to potatoes. Hi, chickens. Girls. Ooh, maybe we should clean that out today too. Gross. Oh yeah. Nice and dry. Got the potatoes, and they're looking great. Completely dry. We'll be able just to brush this loose soil off, And I brought him up here so I can set up shop underneath the shade of this willow tree. I think that sounds very pleasant. So all I'm gonna do is grab just like an old rag and I just loosely brush the dirt off. I don't even get it all. And then I'm just going to line the crate with a burlap sack and put the potatoes inside, and then we'll put them in the root cellar. It's a very simple process. But I don't know if you remember what these looked like when we first put them in. I mean, they were kind of wet and muddy, and they were definitely new potatoes. You can tell if you do one of these, the thumb test, if the skin easily bruises and peels off when you put putting a lot of pressure on it, then it shouldn't go into storage. It's not dried out enough. But if you can do what I'm doing right now and not rough up any skin, that's a perfect potato for storage. Let's try another one. This one feels good. Ugh, nothing. This one's good as well. Okay, let's get that done, and then I think I would like to clean out that pineapple fountain. I did not realize it was so scummy and gross. And I think that's gonna probably wrap up what we get done today. That first flower bed took me a lot longer than I had anticipated, but it's all stuff that needs to be done, so it's all good. The only other thing I do as I'm cleaning these is try to separate them into a pile of larger sized potatoes and a pile of smaller sized potatoes, like this versus this. This one's gonna store much longer than this one right here. So we try to make it through these smaller potatoes first, and then we'll start in with our big ones. And if you've got them separated, it makes it very easy to do that. So I'll have a small bag here, a large bag over here. And this is what I do, just with the rag. Like that. Let me find a really dirty one. Yeah. See this right here? And really, it's fine for them to go into storage with all the dirt on them. You just want to make sure it doesn't have any moisture. So that's why I find just going through and knocking the big stuff off is helpful, because occasionally you'll find one that's got like a chunk of soil that's got a little bit more moisture. But there you go. There it is, all done. So we're just going to continue on. Beauty. That skin rubbed off just a little bit. So I'm going to create a separate pile of potatoes that we'll use up very first. First thing. All right, we got it done. This is the little bunch of potatoes I'm going to take into the kitchen. I'll use these first because these are the ones I ran into that I was able to, you know, rough up some of the skin. There's a little spot right there where the skin was roughed up. So anyway, we'll probably have those for dinner tomorrow night. This right here is our bag of larger, like medium to large size potatoes. See if we can get a good look here. Good representation right there. Nice sized ones. And then this is our bag of smaller ones. So potatoes that look like they range from maybe the one on my right to the one on the left there. Anyway, perfect. So I'll make some labels, one that says Huckleberry Gold Large and one that says Huckleberry Gold Small, so that we know which one to eat from first. So now we need to put both of these crates in the root cellar. I'm also going to send some of these home with my parents tonight. And this bag is fairly, I mean, it's dark in the root cellar, but I'm going to put an extra burlap sack over the top for more protection from light. This one has a tighter weave. Not that it matters that much. The only time that there's light in there is when we turn the overhead light on to go get something, so that's not too bad. All right, potatoes are back in the root cellar. I just loaded up the shop vac and some vinegar. We're gonna go clean this fountain out. I think this is gonna be satisfying. It's kind of like when you let your weeds get really big and then you finally go pull them. Oh, that's so satisfying. Just let your fountains get super gross and then clean them, and you'll feel even better about things. Woo, we're in the shade now. Lovely. How are things looking since our little shower? Pretty good. Nice. Okay, we're gonna get close in on this business. Oh, look at this. Oh yeah, I can make lines in the green, so that'll be pretty easy to clean. We may not even need to use vinegar for this one, but it's nice because the pump plugs right into an extension cord right here, so we'll just unplug it, plug our shop vac in, suck the water out, scrub it real nice, and then fill it back up. Pretty straightforward. So here we go. There's a couple of really stubborn spots, especially on the pineapple. It's really hard to get in there and get everything, but it looks miles better than it did. I want to fill this one up as far as I possibly can. One, to test how level it is. I think it's up a little bit on this end, but two, it's a little bit of a pain to fill this fountain up, so I want it to last. Yep, definitely wanting to go over on the front. We'll have to wedge that up a little bit. And I did use a little bit of vinegar, so I emptied that last little bit that I sucked out of the basin. Not like the algae water. The algae water I just dumped in the flower bed. But this stuff, vinegar, especially the stronger stuff, is not good on the plants. So I just dumped that little bit of water right in the gravel. And then I'm just gonna thoroughly rinse out my reservoir and then this top piece. Good to go for next time. This whole area looks more peaceful having a cleaned out fountain, I think. That looks so good. And this isn't really a fountain like for big splatter, splash, like sound sort of a situation. It's more just for a little bit of movement, but it works back here, I think. I'm looking forward to redoing this flower bed though. We've got this little larch that we planted this spring and it's doing really well, has produced some new growth. But everything else, like there's like one boom chocolata geranium, which I thought I got them all and moved them all out of here, but I must have missed that one. There's that little baptisia that I need to get out of here. There's one foxglove, one delphinium. There is a clematis back there on that trellis, but I think just clearing most of this all out and kind of starting fresh and making it a little bit more separate in the way it looks will be good. And I've had really good luck transplanting hibiscus in particular, lamb's ear as well. Great luck transplanting both of them. So we'll find spots for them either, well, the hibiscus can go out into the dirt lands, lamb's ear I'll move out into the south garden probably. But you guys, that is gonna do it for our projects for today. Clean out of the chicken coop area, pruning roses, fertilizing them, that feels awesome, cleaning out this fountain, getting some potatoes stored. So currently, we've got some onions drying in the high tunnel. I probably need to go out and harvest another batch of them, but I think at this moment, there isn't a crop that needs to be worked on to get into the root cellar. And I'm just gonna try to keep on top of that. It's kind of nice to do it in batches. I used to go in and dig all my potatoes all in one day, which meant that all of them needed to be cleaned on the same day, and same with onions. And it just made for some big projects. And I'm kind of liking like the little bit bite-sized pieces and just consistently getting things done, and eventually we'll get there. So anyway, guys, thank you so much for watching today's video. I hope you enjoyed it, and we will see you in the next one. Bye.